Hello there, wacky waving inflatable flailing arm tube man is back with another game of StarCraft fastest map played on the Styler map. Although this is the HS map, and this is a game between Gosumancome, who is JH, and Minjjanglll, who is someone from the Korean server. And they do seem to know each other because they're talking to each other, having a beautiful conversation between themselves. I don't understand what they're saying. I have no idea what they're saying. And I have a surprise for you because both players are playing Terran. So this is the very first TVT that I will be casting. And it's Gosumancome, or JH, playing the red Terran on the bottom middle. And he's making his depot behind his barracks. That is quite surprising. And there is the gas. And Minjjanglll is doing the exact same thing, although he is making his depot there, not behind his barracks. And there is the gas. There's the barracks, and he's making the barracks as choke. So both players are going for the mech route, because this is the way how you do the mech build order for fastest map. You start off with a depot and a gas at 8-10. As both players have done. Then you start mining gas with 3 SCVs and make the barrack, of course, before either of the two finish. And by the time the barracks finishes, you should have 400 minerals and 200 gas. Although both players are on different amount of gas for some reason that I don't understand. Did something go wrong for Gosumancome? I'm not entirely sure, but it does look like Gosumancome will not be able to make 2 factories at the same time once the barracks finishes, whereas Minjjanglll will definitely be able to immediately throw down 2 factories right at the same time. There are the 2 factories. There's a single factory for Gosumancome. Gosumancome has to wait a little bit longer for a second one, and they both start. He starts a depot before Minjjanglll did, and there is the second factory, and he lifts off the barracks. Either both players know. I assume both players know that they're playing against a Terran. There is a third factory for Minjjanglll, and Gosumancome still on 2 factories. Will be seeing a third one or not? That might be the choice that wins him or loses him the game. Well, actually, he did build a wall, so the vultures will not be able to enter Gosumancome's base, whereas Gosumancome will be able to enter Minjjanglll's base because he can lift up this barrack, send his vultures out, and attack. Both players are going for a very, very late scout. I assume because they both know what the other one is doing, which is a mech build. So Minjjanglll finds Gosumancome. Minjjanglll cannot enter Gosumancome's base because he blocked off the entrance. It's right in between here. This little part is where you can walk units through. He blocked it off. He pulls his SCV back. This barrack is scouting the middle right spot. And he's immediately switching up, going for the factory add-ons. Whereas JH didn't even make vultures. He just immediately goes for the factory add-on, relying on that these vultures will not be able to break in. Because look at how little damage these vultures do to buildings. It's pretty much nothing at all. They deal 5 damage each per shot. So eventually they will break through. But this tank siege mode might finish before either of these villagers even gets the depot down. They're chatting at each other. And he's now also going to make tanks and research siege mode. There's an armory for very early upgrades. There's another depot. Mining from 2 gas. Both players are in fact mining from 2 gases, as you can see right here. But Gosumancome already has a starport out, and he's making a dropship, so he's going for the tank drop. And siege mode has finished. He can siege up both tanks now, and both these vultures will have to pull back. And the vulture goes down. The second vulture does not go down. No, all vultures went down. So that is already a point score lead for Gosumancome. Although I'll have to admit, Minjjanglll did not need those vultures anymore. They had completely lost their purpose. Because vultures also kind of suck against mech. They only do miracles against bio. Unless you go for the mines. The mines are amazing against everything that is a ground unit. But early mines would really not do much, because Gosumancome is going for the early tank drop. which might actually hit quite a bit of Minjjanglll's units. And Minjjanglll doesn't see the drop. His timing to move out wasn't that great. Now Gosumancome is sending out his tanks onto the middle to draw the attention from Minjjanglll. Minjjanglll sending his tanks into Gosumancome's tanks and loses a tank in the process. And there is a drop flying in from the left side of Minjjanglll's base. Minjjanglll doesn't see it. Minjjanglll has seen it now, and he's splitting up his SCVs. And SCVs, a bunch of SCVs have died there, but he pulled most of his SCVs away to the gas. And he picks them up and is going to drop them right next to them and just manual. No, he's going to go for the siege mode. And this is really unfortunate for Gosumancome because now his tanks are right in the path of these SCVs. And SCVs are taking down the tanks. The Goliath's taking down the tanks too. And he pulls out the dropship and takes over middle control with these two tanks that he has placed at the entrance of Minjjanglll's base. Minjjanglll now sieging up his own tanks inside of his own choke, lining them up in a really nice line instead of balling them all up. And yeah, Gosumancome is still on a relatively small base. Minjjanglll's base is also still relatively small because his income just got disrupted, lost a bunch of SCVs to the tank drop. So Gosumancome is currently ahead of Minjjanglll. Gosumancome now dropping tanks on the hill and shooting on the tank there. And because he got the first shot off, this tank will die before this siege tank dies. And there it goes, it dies. He doesn't have vision on top of the hill, so he has to wait for a unit. There's a dropship. He's going to make a dropship and get vision on top of the hill. Either he's going to drop Goliaths on top of the tanks, or use the dropship as vision to extend his tank range onto the hill. Although the first option is way safer. So it's safe to assume he's going for the first option. Adding on more gas and producing from 2 CCs now. And Gosumancome also has 2 CCs finished. So Gosumancome still has the lead over Minjjanglll, as he now has 4 factories finished, almost a 5th one finished. There's a 6th one under construction. Another starport being thrown and a science facility, whereas Minjjanglll is still on 3 factories. He's gonna construct 2 more. There's 2 more factories. There's more depots. There's the armory, so we can. Both players actually upgrading their weapon upgrade for tanks at the same time. So they will both be on 0-1 at the same time. And where did the dropship go? The dropship is going for the drop. And he drops it on top of. He actually didn't kill that many, because only a single tank got a shot off and the other tank died before it could get a shot off. And it takes 2 shots to kill SCVs, but he also split up his SCVs to prevent too many of them taking damage. And he still hasn't decided to kill these tanks on the hill there. Really hope he does so very soon, because these tanks are limiting his ability to build in this entire area here. So these tanks are doing a really good job of keeping Minjjanglll to be rather small. And now he's going to pick up these 2 tanks, put them in a dropship, and drop more tanks on the hill. He's either going to drop them here, or he's going to go for the tank drop. We'll have to wait and see what he does. It would be really nice to see him drop them here and contain Minjjanglll into a smaller space. Minjjanglll trying to preemptively stop Gosumancome from being able to do that by dropping tanks on the hill himself. And this tank is in range of this tank, so this tank is going to go down, but he does now have control over this area inside Minjjanglll's base. Minjjanglll sieges up this tank, but this tank is outside of the range of the tanks. Now he drops Goliaths on top of the tanks that Gosumancome drops on the hill, but the units down the hill are killing the Goliaths that Minjjanglll dropped on top of the hill. So the advantage for Gosumancome just keeps snowballing. And he does have some raids out, but there is a vessel there in the back. But I don't think these Goliaths can hit the raids on the other side of the hill. No, they're outside of the Goliath range. So that's really fortunate for Minjjanglll. So now Minjjanglll gets control back over the left side of his base. Gosumancome lost control over the left side of Minjjanglll's base. And we just had, there are more tanks. Both players are still relatively small. Gosumancome is mining from almost all of the gas now. He's got 7 geysers constructed. He's got supply stuck for a little while there, so he has to wait for new depots before he can produce any more units. But in the meantime, he has the ability to make some nice offensive moves. And so this entire corner here is open again. So if Gosumancome scans correctly and makes the correct judgment, you can start dropping tanks in this section and deny these starports from Minjjanglll. But Gosumancome is going all in on trying to get control over the left side, which I personally really do disagree with. These tanks on the hill are going to go down to the tanks on the regular not hill area. And Minjjanglll now also has control back over the right bottom side of his base. So Gosumancome still has a lead over Minjjanglll, but Minjjanglll is doing a good job of regaining control over his own base, so he can start building everywhere inside his own base. He should make more SCVs, but his income is very low. But I do understand that while you're under this much pressure to keep control over your base, and technically both players are fighting to gain control over the hills, because whoever has control over the hill has control over this portion of the map. And Minjjanglll unable to get control of the hill, as these tanks here, supported by the vision of this engine bay, keep taking down the tanks that Minjjanglll is trying to siege on top of the hill. This one does get a shut off, and now the raids finish off the tank. That's a small little net gain for Minjjanglll. This vessel is going to go into the range of the SCVs, and the SCVs are going to get radiated. And how many? That is really unfortunate. So anyway, he does kill a bunch of SCVs. He lost about 10 or so supply there in the process of getting radiated, which is not as much of a gain that Gosumancome would have loved to have over Minjjanglll, but every little bit of advantage that you gain is always welcome in TVT, because TVT is one of those stalemate matchups where it doesn't matter if you're ahead of your opponent, you're kind of in a stalemate for a very long time, because you have to rely on this little tug of war mechanic where everything gets cancelled out by tanks against tanks. And the dropships don't do much either. I mean, they do a small little thing. They give you a little bit of rope pulling ability. These raids do way more. And because Gosumancome does not have raids, Minjjanglll has more freedom to force movements at places. And this one's going to fly in. Minjjanglll doesn't see it. Oh, he does see it. And he pulls his raids away. He doesn't radiate. He does not radiate. Gosumancome doesn't radiate the SCVs. That could have won him the game. If he had radiated there, he could have killed most of Minjjanglll's SCVs that he has on his minerals and gotten himself a huge lead over Gosumancome, but Gosumancome decides not to, because maybe he thought it already died. I'm not sure what was going on there. But Minjjanglll is adding on a lot of raids, going for the full-on Wraith play, and Gosumancome making a lot of turrets on the side to counteract these raids. But these raids are currently stronger than the turrets and the Goliaths that Gosumancome has. Gosumancome is now also constructing a lot of starports in addition to the couple of tanks that he has, so he knows that he has to switch up from tanks to raids or battlecruisers. And there is the physics lab, so we might be seeing battlecruisers after all. Now a lot of tanks being dropped on the high ground next to Gosumancome's base. Gosumancome now having the tables flipped on him, and because he doesn't have any raids, he is going to have a hard time fighting these tanks off and killing them. And another wave, and now Minjjanglll sees this entire portion. He's going to drop tanks on the low ground, kill the raids, kill the turrets, and then kill the tank with his own tanks. And Minjjanglll regains control over gains control because he never had control, but now he gains control over this area, but he's going to lose control very soon. If Gosumancome makes the right choice, Minjjanglll. And there he goes and regains control over the left side. Gains control left side because he never had it. A little bit of misspeaking. But he gets control over the left side of the hill by dropping units under the protection of the raids. He did lose all of his raids in the process of getting control there. But now Gosumancome has been chased away. Gosumancome still has control over the middle and over this portion here on the middle right spot, but I feel he will lose that control very soon, but because there are 11 dropships out for Minjjanglll, and Minjjanglll is filling them all up. Gosumancome is making battlecruisers in the meantime. And he's got 3 battlecruisers out already, 4 more on the way. Yamato cannon being researched. All the ship upgrades and ground upgrades are almost finished. And there is the huge tank drop on the middle, with which Minjjanglll now has control over the middle. So Gosumancome is losing all of his control that he fought so hard for with the advantage he had over Minjjanglll. But Gosumancome has something that Minjjanglll does not have, and that is a superior air armada. He has battlecruisers that can fight against the tanks on the ground, and he has Valkyries that can fight against the raids in the air. And battlecruisers can also fight against raids, of course. But this should shut down every single option that Minjjanglll has, because he has these dropships, and dropships are all filled up with tanks, but most of the dropships die to turret fire, and now these Valkyries are going to finish off the last remaining couple of dropships. Dropships do get their tanks out, and the tanks are going to siege and throw down tank fire on these starports and SCVs that are constructing and producing units here on the side of Gosumancome's base, but the battlecruisers come flying in and clear out the tanks. Now tanks moving out on the middle from Minjjanglll's base, trying to fight for control over the middle or re-establish control that he just lost to the battlecruisers, but the battlecruisers are gonna change the flow of this. Either Minjjanglll has to go for battlecruisers himself too, or stick to the Valkyries. It's gonna be a Wraith Valkyrie against battlecruiser Valkyrie match in the air. The ultimate air armada battle between the fleet of Minjjanglll and Gosumancome, supported by a couple of tanks on the ground that are ensuring the stalemate situation that both players are somewhat in right now. And Minjjanglll gets the first hit on Gosumancome. Gosumancome does not respond because he didn't have vision of the raids that were cloaked, so he couldn't retaliate. But now Gosumancome is moving out, and he takes down a single tank, decides not to attack because he needs a vessel, I assume, or is he going to rely on his scans to scan the raids. And both players scanning each other. I'm too lazy to look at what either player scanned. Minjjanglll pulls back his units to his base, sends them back out again once he realizes that Gosumancome is trying to make an advance on the middle to retake control and replace Minjjanglll's tanks with his own tanks. And there the fight starts. Both players are attacking each other with carriers. And Jesus Christ. I guess that's why battlecruisers are a better option than raids, because raids die really quickly to Valkyries, whereas battlecruisers, being beefier, having way more HP, don't really die that quick. They have 500 HP, whereas raids have about 150 HP, so it only takes seconds for raids to die to only a couple of Valkyries, whereas it takes way longer, more than 3 times as long, for battlecruisers to die to Valkyrie fire. So that fight was immediately won by Gosumancome, and Minjjanglll is still committing to making raids against battlecruiser Valkyrie combination. There's a drop flying in. Both tanks do get sieged up because there's not enough damage, and he doesn't get a single shot off on the SCVs. That might have turned the flow of the game even more into Gosumancome's favor, because Gosumancome already has the lead over Minjjanglll. or the leverage, and he's sending in his Valkyries. The Valkyries taking down almost all of the drops. The drops are pulled back before most of them die, so he did save that. And now the battlecruisers are going in, and the scan has to come out. The scan comes out, and the Valkyries are going to fire away at the Wraiths. The Wraiths very quickly dying to the combined fire of battlecruiser and Valkyrie missile fire, and more scans, and all of the Wraiths have died. Minjang is producing another wave of Wraiths, but his income is so very low. He really needs more SCVs on his minerals if he wants to be able to keep up in production. With Gosumancome now losing his battlecruisers too. The Wraiths had just got replenished in Minjang's base. Has to pull back really quickly. There is a drop coming in from the side. That's a lot of tanks and Goliaths. And he's dropping them on the hill on the side. And Gosumancome has to wait for battlecruisers to finish production if he wants to fight this off. So you're going to lose a couple of depots. Well, it doesn't really hurt him that much if he loses a couple of depots, because I assume he has enough supply room even after losing a couple of depots. Minjang is, however, regaining control over the middle despite being in such a nasty position just now. And he's loading up more tanks into the dropships. Scans coming out. Units on the hill still alive. Battlecruisers are very slowly taken out. It's just a single battlecruiser. But 11 battlecruisers are under construction inside the starports. Gosumancome, I assume, scanned the dropships, so Minjang is not yet in a position to fly these in. He's flying his Wraiths over the turrets and loses a lot of his Wraiths to the turrets. He's going to try to land them on the opposite hill, but all the battlecruisers have finished their production, and I don't think he has enough Wraiths or Goliaths placed here to take down these battlecruisers. He throws down a scan. Wraiths are very quickly dying. Goliaths are also dying. The scan ends. He rescans. There are now 2 Valkyries in the mix. 3 Valkyries in the mix, and the 3 Valkyries take down the Wraiths very quickly. And Minjang now taking out the turrets here on the side, producing another wave of Wraiths to send them into the battle. And the battlecruisers are taking down the tanks on the hill. More scans being thrown out. And that is 9 battlecruisers finished. More under construction, and these Wraiths are trying to snipe the battlecruisers, but a quick scan prevents them from taking the battlecruisers, and the battlecruisers are taking down the Wraiths with the aid of the Valkyries, and the Wraiths are forced to pull back. The Wraiths are almost dead, and it happened almost instantly. He instantly had to pull back. Valkyries really do a lot of damage on air units. It's insane how much damage they deal. And there they're already going down within the blink of an eye. And this looks like a really bad position for Minjang, because Minjang has a lot of dropships and definitely does not have enough air units to fight off these battlecruisers. And the battlecruisers are going to get more help from more battlecruisers that are flying in from Gosumancome's base. Gosumancome's also using these Wraiths to very quickly whittle down the HP of these Wraiths. The Wraiths now flanking. No scan is coming out. But these battlecruisers are way too beefy to just die to 7 Wraiths. And Minjang calls the G. Well, he calls something that's definitely not a GG. He says something, loses the game, leaves. Gosumancome wins. And although it wasn't a very exciting game, it was somewhat of an interesting game, because we don't often see a TVT on fastest map. Most people decide not to play TVT on fastest map because this is more or less what happens, and playing it isn't much fun, but watching it can be so much fun. I mostly decided to cast this game to give people an idea of what TVT on fastest map can look like, and more or less does look like most of the time. Well, most of the time people go for battlecruisers against battlecruisers instead of Wraiths against battlecruisers, and the tanks kind of get factored out to a lesser degree, because they kind of just end up in a stalemate situation where the tanks can't advance further because of the opponent's tanks, and that's why people go for battlecruisers. Because battlecruisers can advance way more easily, and are way beefier than Wraiths. Wraiths don't tend to do well against battlecruisers. So yeah, thanks for watching. This is the last game of today. Hope it was a good one. Wasn't very successful on picking my replays today, but Better than nothing at all. Goodbye.